Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 5 of my How to Make Android Apps tutorial. Today I'm going to cover how to create multiple activities and how to pass data back and forth between those activities. This is a very common thing you'll have to do when making Android applications, and I'm going to keep everything condensed real small so you'll be able to really understand exactly how it works. So I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Okay, so here we are inside of Android Studio, and I already set up our little project. It is called Switching Screens, and what it is going to do, or I have all the code in the description underneath the video if you want to go and get a hold of it. And what it's going to do is it's going to set up two different activities, and it's going to pass data back and forth between those activities. So what am I going to need to open up? I'm going to go into my app folder, and I'm going to go into source, and I'm going to need my Android manifest because we have to tell the manifest that there's more than one activity. I'm going to need main activity, and I'm also going to need to go into the resources folder and open up this layout right here. Okay, so everything's open. You can see our little emulator working over here for us, and I'm going to enlarge the font. Okay, enlarge the font. Now I'm going to go into my layout folder because we have to create a layout for every screen or activity that we have in our application. Just click on that and go to new, and then I'm going to come down here to XML, and then I'm going to come over here to layout XML file. Click on that, and the name I'm going to give for this is just second layout, and don't put XML, and I'm going to leave this as a linear layout just like we have here, and then come down here and click finish. Alright, so it's going to generate that out on the screen for me, and there's a couple different things that I want to do here. I'm going to have this be wrap content, and I'm going to have this also be wrap content. And remember, with our linear layouts, we want to define our orientation, and the orientation for this is just going to be vertical. This is going to be a very simple app, but I did it on purpose that way so that you'll be able to sort of just go in there and copy and paste if you want. And let's make that be center to the left, and let's throw some padding on it as well. And only just say 20 dp. Just playing around here. Okay, so basically what I want to do is I want to have a text view that's going to act as a label, and it's going to say for them to enter their name into the editable text box, and they're going to be able to hit a button, and it's going to send it back to our previous activity, which is going to be main activity.java, which you should be well used to using. So I'm going to create a linear layout here inside of this, and I'm just going to have it be wrap content, and for the height I'm going to have that also be wrap content, and I'm going to define my orientation this time to be equal to horizontal. And just like I said, I want to put a text view inside of this. So there's text view, and I'm also going to have it be wrap content as well. I'm going to put some text inside of this, and that text is basically going to say enter your name or something to that effect. And then I'm going to go over to the little light bulb over here and let it automatically extract the string resource into strings.xml. And I'm going to give this the name of enter name text view, and click OK, and that's going to go in the strings.xml file for me. Next thing I want to do is have an editable text area, and this guy is going to allow them to enter their name. And let's say I want to do something like have it be 185 dp so that there's plenty of room on the screen, and then the height is just going to be wrap content again. And then because I'm going to want to get that name that they entered and send it back to the main activity, I need to give this an ID, and the ID I'm going to do is users name edit text, and that's all I'm going to do for that guy. And that linear layout's going to close out, and then you can see it over here. See? Enter name, and there is going to be the editable text area. And now inside of here, I'm going to create another linear layout, and I'm going to have it also be wrap content. Wrap content works for me. Going to come in here and change my orientation to horizontal, and let's say I want to put some padding on the top of this guy. And let's say 10 dp, I don't know. Alright. Now inside of this, what I'm going to do is it's going to, whenever the main activity calls for this other activity to open up, I want to send some data along that's going to be displayed inside of here. And I'm also going to need a button so that whenever they click on their enter name, or they type in their name and hit a button, it's going to send it back to main activity. So I got to create a button instance inside of here, and I'm going to have it also be wrap content and wrap content. The text for this is going to be enter. Let's keep that simple. And then I'm going to have to perform a certain, I can come in here and click on this, extract string resource if I want, and type in enter name button, and then click on OK. And the most important thing here is I need to be able to sense if the user clicks on this button so that I can send the name back to my previous activity. I'm going to do that with onClick. And I am going to open up a method that's called onSend user's name, and then I also want to put another text view inside of here, and this text view is just going to say what activity called this activity to open up. So I'm going to do ID, I'm going to call this calling activity info text view. It's just going to display the main activity as the one that called for this to execute. And let's say that I want to do a layout width, and let's just have this be wrap content. See, if I would have did this the right way, it would have automatically went inside of there. Put that right there. And layout height, got ahead of myself a little bit, and have that be wrap content as well. And then the text that's going to be inside of this guy, I can say something like the calling activity was, and then a space, and then I can go click on this guy, extract string resource, and then inside of this type in calling activity message. Okay, and click OK. And there we are. We have the whole entire thing set up, and then it's going to say main activity over here whenever this is called. And everything's set up perfectly. So now I'm going to jump over and edit up the activity main layout. Okay, so here is this guy, and this is going to be a linear layout as well. Don't worry, I've had some questions. I'm going to cover all the different layouts. I'm just using linear layout because it's the simplest. Match parents all fine. I can just get rid of all this padding and replace it with one padding type, and we'll just say 20 dp. And then for the gravity or the position of this layout on our screen, I'm going to say gravity, and then I'm going to say center, and I also want it to be at the top. See how it was moving over here? The text view that I have for this, I'm going to replace this hello world right here. And then let's say we want to say something like go get the name, and whenever they click on the button underneath of it, it's going to open up the other activity. Click on this, extract string resource. I can just call this get the name text view. Good enough. Have this be wrap content, that's fine. Let's say maybe I want to have the text style on this guy to be set for bold, and let's make the text size a little bit bigger so that it fits inside of here. Actually, let's make this style, didn't notice that. And then we'll go text size and make this 20 SP. And there we go. And you can see there it is, go get the name, and then underneath of it I'm going to need to have a button, and this is going to be wrap content, change this to linear layout realm down here, and the text for this can be go get it. And just to keep this simple, I'm not going to put this in the strings.xml file. And then if I want to put like a margin on the top of this guy, like that, and let's say something like 20 dp, and then whenever it's clicked, it's going to have to open up the new activity. So I need to be able to have a method that is going to be called when this is clicked so that that is done. And then I also want to put a text view inside of here that is going to display the user's name, and then we'll be all done with this. Text view, wrap content, get our text, the user's name was, and because we're going to need this, I'm going to give this a name, or I'm going to put it in a strings.xml file. User's name sent back. There you go. Do our text style, have this be bold as well. Text size, have this be 20 SP. Layout margin top, have this be 20 dp. I'm just keeping everything simple here. I know it's not going to be beautiful whenever I'm done anyways, it doesn't really matter. And then because I'm going to have to get a hold of this, I'm going to go name. And the reason why I need to get a hold of it was whenever that name is passed back from the other activity, I want to be able to say or tack it onto the end of all of this stuff. And the reason why it looks goofy over there is I need to go up here and type in orientation, and let's have this be vertical. And there you can see everything all looks good now. Alright, super. And then before I get out of here, let's click on this guy right here, come over to our little light bulb and create on name click in main activity. And you can see it's been created right there. And this is where I'm going to be able to do pretty much everything. Now, what we're going to be using here is an intent. And all an intent is it's an intention to do something. Before you do something in Android, you have to say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is exactly how I want to do it. And go do it, Android. That's it. The intents are very confused by people. They're very simple. So what we need to do first is we need to state that our intention is to open another activity, and we're going to do so by passing a context as well as the activity that we want to open. So intent, and what do we want to do here? I want to get name screen, and I'm just going to put intent there at the end, new intent, and then you have to pass a context, which is this, which is all that's been going on with our application, as well as all the resources that could be needed. We learned all about context in previous tutorials. And the class that we want to open, which is second screen, which it's red right now. That's because we haven't created second screen yet. We could come over here though and create second screen, new, and Java class, and I'm going to call it second screen, and I'm going to say OK. And there it is. And then it's an activity, so extends activity. There we go. Delete. So we might as well just go in here and create our onCreate for this. So just right click on that, go to generate, and then we're going to go override methods. And what we need is onCreate, this guy right there. There, created it for us. And then we can jump over into second layout that we have right here. Actually, you know what? Let's jump over into the manifest. Sorry, I'm jumping around a lot, but I want to do everything here in a reasonable way. Now, in the manifest, if you create a new activity, you have to define it inside of the manifest file. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new activity, right like this. And it's going to be called second screen. There, it shows up right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to define a couple different things. The name is just a reference to the class. And let's say we want to give it a label. And I'm just going to call this get name. And then if we want to define a theme for it, there's theme. And for this one, I'm just going to say @style app theme. Exactly what we've been using already. So we need to do that in the Android manifest file. Don't forget to do that. It's very important. And that is basically all we need to do whenever we create a second activity for the Android manifest file. So we can close that. And we're back inside of main activity. And specifically, we're in on get name click view. And like I said before, this is where they click. Let's look at it just to make sure you remember, because I was doing a lot of clicking there. This guy right here, when they click this button, that is whenever this method right here is going to execute. So we stated that we're sending our context with this, and we stated that what we want to happen is that we want the second screen to open. Then you're going to have to define a result, which can be used as a number that sends certain signals or provides you certain information, what have you. Don't worry about that one right now. It's not that important. And then we're going to have to put data that we want to send over to the second screen. Now you don't have to do this, it's only if you have it. So we're going to say get name screen intent, and if you want to pass additional information over to the second screen whenever it's open, you just go put extra. And then you have to define the name for your string. So this is just the string's name. I'm going to call it calling activity. It's like a key value pair. And then the string data that I want to pass over, which is main activity. So it's passing that over as the activity that called for the second screen to open. You can send anything. You can send multiple different pieces of data, but right now that's all we're going to do. Now, if you want to call for that activity to run and you don't expect that screen, that other screen, to send data back to you, you can just go start activity, right like that, and then pass get name screen intent, which has all the information you need to be able to get that information and call that screen to open. If, however, you want to be able to retrieve information back from that other screen, you're going to type in instead start activity for result. And then to that, you're going to pass in this result ID. And that is it. That's all it's going to take to open up a brand new activity and call for it to open, as well as call for it to open and expect it to send data back to you. Now we're going to come back to mainActivity.java in a second, but first I want to go over to secondscreen.java and set up everything there. Okay, so here we are inside of this guy. Now, of course, we're going to have to say what layout we want to be able to use with this new activity that we're creating. So set content view, and you're just going to go R layout, and then you're going to pick your layout, which we called second layout. So there that is. And then we're going to create another intent, and what we're going to do with this intent is get the data that was passed over from main activity. So this right here, we want to get this. So back over here again, intent, and I'm going to call this activity called something, activity that called. That makes a little bit more sense. And we're going to say get intent. So there that is. Now we want to get the data that was sent. So we're going to create a string, and I'm just going to call this previous activity is equal to, and then I got to call activity that called, that intent, and get extras, which is the extra data that was sent. And then we're going to say get string, and we're going to say what specific key valued pair it has, or what specific key we have in this situation. And the specific key we have in this situation is calling activity, because that's what we called it. Of course, we want to put it inside of quotes though, calling activity, and then semicolon. So calling activity, jump over here, calling activity. This is the key we gave it, and this is the value we want to retrieve. Back over into second screen. Now we're going to create our text view so that we will be able to send a message inside of our second screen so that we can display, hey, main activity was the one that called for the screen to open up. So calling activity message is equal to, and we have to convert this to a text view because that's what it is. It comes through as just a regular old view, and we have to say this is a text view. Find view by ID, and r.id. Put this on second line if we wanted to. It's not going to hurt anything. And then dot calling activity info text view. And that's where we're going to put our additional new information about what activity called this guy. And to do so, we just go calling activity message, that guy. And if we wanted to append the name of the activity at the end of it, instead of deleting it or anything, and let's also put a space inside of here, because that normally gets deleted. And we're going to put previous activity right there. And that's going to display inside of the second activity that opens up on our screen. And if we jump over into second layout, you can see that right here. So it's going to say the calling activity was, and it's going to say main activity. So that's what we were just doing right there. Now we can click on this guy right here, and this is going to be the button that is going to take the user's name and send it back to the first activity. Come over here, create on send user's name. Yes, of course. And we are back inside of here. So let's finish this up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the edit text because it is going to have the user's name that they entered. And I'm not going to do any error handling in this just to keep everything simple. I'll get more into that later. So it's an edit text, and I want to do a find users by ID. And the specific one I want is r.id and user's name edit text. This one right there. Put a semicolon, put this on second line here, make it a little bit easier to see everything all at one time. And then if I want to get the name that was typed in to the editable text box, let me zoom in here a little bit so you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to call string, and I need to convert this. So value of, and I'm going to go user's name, ET, that guy right there. And then I want to get text. Gonna get it? Yes, it did. And throw in a semicolon. So now we got the name that they entered in, the user of our application. So now what it's time to do is send that back to the original activity. And to do so, we're going to create another intent. We have an intent to do something we have to tell Android we want to do. Okay, and I'm going to call this go back. And it's just going to take us back to the previous activity. There's our intent. And I need to define the string and the key, name for our string, as well as the value that I want to send back. And going back again, and then I can say put extra. And then what I'm going to put is, this is the key. It's going to be user's name, and then user's name again. Put a semicolon there. And then I have to go set result. This is the result of this activity executing. And I'm going to pass back result okay, which means that basically everything is good. And then I have to pass the intent, which has all our information. And for the result okay, it could also be result canceled, and that is going to be called anytime this specific screen that we're working with, our second screen, crashes. It's going to pass back result canceled. Once again, it's not something to worry about. Result okay is normally going to be great for you every single time. And then because this screen is done working, we're going to close it with finish. And that is every single thing we need to do with the second screen.java. Now I'm going to jump back over into main activity and finish up the whole entire app. Okay, so here we are back in main activity.java, and what I'm going to do with this guy is I need to handle the name being sent back to me in this activity after the other screen closes. So I'm just going to right click inside of here, and I'm going to come down to generate, and I'm going to go override methods, and then what I want to specifically look for is on activity result, and it's down inside of this one right here, on activity result. There it is, and I'm going to cut this out of here and put it down further below because I like it down here better. Okay, and what I'm going to want to do here is create the text view so that I can put the user's name inside of it. So I have to go text view again, and I'm going to call this the user's name message, and it's a text view, or that's what I want to cast it into, text view. And let's come down here and let's say find by ID, and this is r.id. See, you do the same thing over and over again. Eventually it just starts to stick in your head. And the message is the specific thing that I want here, so I want to be able to go and change that text view so that it displays the user's name on there. And I need to get it, so name sent back from the previous activity that just closed, the second screen one, and that is in data. And I want to go get string extra that was passed back, and then I need to give it the key that was used previously, which is user's name, to get the value. And then I can just go user's name message, and if I want to append it to the end of that, no problem. You guys already saw this. And then I'm going to put the name sent back. And it's all done. Everything's there. So let's execute this. Alright, and everything changed down here, so you know it's about ready to get started. Yes, my emulator acts goofy as well. That's why I normally use a device instead of this, but this works whenever we need something. And there it is, switching screens opens up. Go get the name, go get it. This is going to open up the other screen, and there it is right there. And we can just come in here and type in our name. There's my name. And you can also see here the calling activity was main activity. See, got that. Hit enter, and you can now see the user's name was Derek. And that's back on the original screen. So that's how to work with multiple different screens and pass data back and forth between them. Please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.